Good evening and welcome to the ITV News in London tonight. Give us more guns. Nearly half of the Met officers want more armed police on the streets. Followed off a bus, then sexually assaulted. The 81-year-old attacked in Balham. Fears for childless couples. Plans to cut IVF treatment in Richmond. Could other areas follow? And
the BAFTA goes to
The Jungle Book.
behind the scenes with the Soho team responsible for one of BAFTA's big winners. The Met Police has one of the smallest proportions of armed officers of any major force in the world. But in the wake of recent terror attacks in Europe, the Met's officers have said they want more of their number to carry guns and tasers. A survey of 11,000 members of the Police Federation found 3/4 want tasers to be given to all officers. Almost half said they want more colleagues to carry guns as well. Well, our senior correspondent, Ronke Phillips, has the results and the reaction.
Londoners are used to seeing armed police outside Downing Street and other high-profile buildings. But if the majority of the Met's rank and file had their way, more officers would routinely carry conventional weapons and tasers.
I wasn't over surprised because we've thought for quite a while that my colleagues wanted more protection.
The overwhelming opinion is the police need the correct equipment to deal with what they believe is a more dangerous society.
Taser is a non-lethal option that we prefer to carry. I recognise fully that we will never be a fully armed force in the streets of London. I don't want that. But what we have to be able to do is protect the public correctly, and we feel that we need more armed officers to do that.
The Metropolitan Police Federation surveyed 1,100 police officers and discovered that 75% believe all of them should carry tasers while on duty. 44% think there should be more specialist firearms officers in the force. And just over a quarter of those polled said they believed all Met police officers should be routinely armed. This is what they want to protect the public against. An Islamic State type attack like the one in Paris in which 130 people were killed.
Our body is not built to be taking voltage.
But pensioner Lloyd Thames, who was tasered with one of the 50,000-volt weapons by mistake when police raided the wrong address, says giving them more armoury would not deter terrorists, but it would lead to more innocent members of the public being hurt.
Look what happened to me. You wasn't keeping me safe. You kicked down my door and you come in and point a taser at me. I'm an innocent person, so I'm not a terrorist.
Even though there is this higher risk, I still feel that our basic principles are one where we police by consent in partnership with our communities, and which is the envy of the world.
The Police Federation accepts it's a delicate balance, but argues if its members are to protect Londoners, both the Home Office and the Mayor need to act on the results of the survey and allow more officers to carry weapons.
Ronke, what's the likelihood of us seeing a change as a result of this survey?
Well, we're in the minority here because all major countries around Europe and in the United States, in Canada and Australia, they all carry firearms as a matter of routine. But the exceptions are here, as I said, in Britain, New Zealand and the Republic of Ireland. In countries like Norway, the officers do carry firearms, but they keep them in their cars. They don't carry them out on patrol. And things aren't likely to change here, Charlene, anytime soon. We contacted the Mayor's office today and they said they have no plans whatsoever to support any call for officers here to carry firearms as a matter of routine. But when it comes to tasers, they said, well, the use of that tactic is something they always keep under review. OK,
Ronke, thanks very much. Well, we've been asking you how you feel about the issue on our website. Our Snap poll currently has 40% of you saying you would feel safer if police officers carried taser and 60% saying you wouldn't. You can still have your say by going to our website. Just search for ITV London. Police are searching for witnesses after an 81-year-old woman was raped in Balham. The woman was followed off a bus on Friday evening and then attacked. Nick Wallace is on Balham High Road for us. Nick, what more can you tell us?
Well, this was a truly horrifying attack which has shocked and appalled everyone that I've spoken to about it. The 81-year-old victim was on the 155 bus coming down Balham High Road at around 8:30 p.m. on Friday night, and she got off at this bus stop here. From then, she was being followed, and it's somewhere around here that her attacker grabbed her and took her into Ronaldo Road, which is the road behind me. There she was taken forcibly to a secluded spot and raped twice over the course of 90 minutes. Now, it's not clear if the attacker was actually on the bus with her or not, and that's obviously something police will be studying the CCTV to find out. Well, this morning, 41-year-old Anthony Roberts was charged with 2 counts of rape and with abduction with intent to commit a sexual offence. Roberts from Tooting will next appear in court in March, but police are still very keen to find any witnesses, particularly a man who was seen in the area of Ronaldo Road on Friday night.
We believe a witness wearing a distinctive jacket with an American motif or flag on the back may have seen our attacker with the victim at the relevant time. We've seen somebody fitting that description who is a witness at 8:39 on our CCTV, and we'd be very, very keen to speak to them in a capacity as a witness to help us with our inquiries.
Police are also very keen to trace the victim's red Marks and Spencer coat, which she lost during the course of the attack. They believe it may contain some key evidential value.
Thanks very much. A banker on a night out in Blackheath was killed by a single punch after chatting to a group of women, a court heard today. A jury heard how, after leaving a nightclub in August last year, Oliver Dearlove spoke with 4 women. Just a few seconds later, 31-year-old Trevor Timon is accused of attacking Mr Dearlove, punching him to the ground. He was declared dead just 24 hours later. The murder trial continues. Detectives have released new CCTV pictures today on the 6th anniversary of the murder of 24-year-old Samuel Gadira. Police hope this grainy footage of 2 men running up and back down Sydenham Road shortly after the murder, you can see him on the right-hand side of the screen, may lead to a conviction. A £20,000 reward has been offered. The Greenwich University student was found stabbed in the heart close to Penge East Station in 2011. Next tonight, when firefighter Dave Hill went out for an evening with his wife, the last thing he expected to do was to save a life. But he did just that on the way home when they saw a woman trying to jump off Lambeth Bridge. Well, I'm delighted to say he's here now to explain to me exactly what happened. Dave, thank you so much for coming in.
Yeah, you're more than welcome.
I mean, I'm sure it was the last thing you expected after a night out with your wife. What happened when you saw what was happening on that bridge?
Well, when I initially came across to the bridge, I just see like a group of people, which I had no understanding what was happening on the other side of the bridge at all, really. And I initially thought it was some people drunk, really, to be honest with you. And as I got closer and closer, I could see a man that was bent down with his arms above his head. And I thought, oh, he's got his head stuck in the bridge. And I sort of said to my wife, I saw that, and she went to me, no, there's someone on the other side. And I sort of said, really? And obviously I took 2 paces back and then see this young female in free fall, technically, really, on the other side of the bridge, yeah. And
I mean, this is just the incredible part, and it's the reason why you're wearing that scarf, because you were a former Marine, is that correct?
I'm a former Royal Marine and I'm currently a reservist.
Yeah, and so this is a bootneck 350 tartan scarf you've got on at the moment.
They actually call it the bootneck 350 tartan. It's something about 50, I think. I'm 50.
Yeah.
It's 350 tarf, and we've just celebrated 150 years in the fire service.
And you actually used this to help to save her life. You went over the side to explain to us what happened next.
So when I see the lady in free fall, I literally took my jacket off, give my jacket and my cap to my wife, make sure my shirt and tie was done up, as I always do, looked over, jumped over, and I technically had nothing else to do, really, other than make sure she was tied onto the bridge.
Wow.
So I took my scarf off, my trusty scarf, tied it around her waist, and the other trailing end I tied on the banisters of the bridge, which we know is like a work restraint. Yeah. She cannot go anywhere then.
So did you just, I mean, this is incredible. Did you just go into survival mode in terms of, I need to help this person and I'll do whatever I can to achieve that?
I don't think it's survival mode. It's more firefighters mode, to be brutally honest with you. That's what we do. We get trained to do this sort of stuff all the time. Sometimes we try and avoid. You've got a balance between getting too involved and not getting involved when you're off duty, because we have a good system in place. to a nanny. You know, when you ring 999, the system's there. So you've really got to balance when to get involved and when not to five. And for me, clearly that I needed to get involved because this woman was in freefall.
And was the lady okay?
I understand she was fine. I reassured her, I stroked her face, I whispered in her ear, I won't let you, I won't leave you, I'll definitely be on the other side of the bridge with you. And between me and my other friends, the fire service turned up and we tied her on and then got her on the other side of the bridge to safety.
And what's important to say is you were, of course, trained to do this, so it's not necessarily something that we would suggest regular members of the public attempt for themselves.
No, it's really not a good idea to jump over the other side of a bridge with the Thames flowing at -2 and try and tie a rope with one hand. We get trained to tie a thing called a one-handed bowline, which is a knot with one hand, which I did. I tied around her waist and then obviously got to safety on the other side of the bridge.
Well, you were clearly meant to walk across that bridge that night. And Dave, thank you so much for coming in to talk to us.
Oh, you're more than welcome.
Well, if you've been affected by any of the issues we've discussed tonight, you can find links to help on our Facebook page. Just search for ITV London. Well, you're watching the ITV News in London. Still to come, the man behind the mask that he hopes will spare children from pollution, plus
that one shot would have probably taken a month.
the secrets of the Soho special effects artist that won big at the BAFTAs. The already patchy provision of IVF treatment on the NHS in and around London could be about to get worse as another area considers stopping it altogether. Two parts of Essex have already withdrawn the fertility treatment on the National Health Service, and now the NHS in Richmond has begun a consultation on whether to stop funding it other than in exceptional circumstances. Jenny Longdon has the story.
Creating new life in a dish. It might not be the preferred route to having a baby, but for thousands, it is the last resort. In vitro fertilisation, or IVF, is a process in which an egg is fertilised in a laboratory. More women are turning to it as they choose to have children later in life.
You can feel totally trapped and isolated, like there's no escape, and that you're to total failure for not being able to make a baby, like everybody else seems to be able to do. And so it really is a lifeline for people. It's a great hope, this chance of being able to have a baby through medical intervention.
But for many, the £5,000 price tag for each fertilisation attempt is far too much, especially when the success rate can be as low as 10%. According to health guidelines, couples should be offered 3 cycles of IVF on the NHS if they qualify for treatment. But the chances of being accepted for IVF treatment on the NHS doesn't come down to box ticking. As per the guidelines, you can be a young, healthy couple under the age of 40 and still be turned down for treatment because of your postcode. That's because it's up to regional NHS groups if they offer the full service or none at all. The best provision of treatment on the NHS in London is in Camden, where 3 cycles of treatment are offered. Mid and North East Essex and Basildon and Brentwood have already stopped funding IVF for healthy couples. They'll consider exceptional clinical cases, such as when infertility has been caused by cancer. Now 2 more regions, Richmond and Croydon, are considering following suit. The man who pioneered early IVF treatment says the cost has spiralled out of control.
Well, the IVF that I was involved with when I was working at the very beginning has always been National Health Service based, and we were able to do it at a very reasonable cost, much less than is now being charged. And in fact, there was never a problem about pricing. It was always possible to do it within the health service system.
NHS groups in Richmond and Croydon have launched consultations on the future of their IVF service. Jenny Longdon, ITV News.
Prince William manned the phones at a homeless charity as a new helpline was launched today.
It sounds like you're going through a very difficult time. It seems you're very worried about what to do next. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay. Can you tell me a little bit more about your situation at the moment?
The Centrepoint helpline is the first national free phone service for 16 to 25-year-olds facing homelessness. The Prince launched the service at its Whitechapel headquarters, taking part in a practice call and talking to staff. So Bradley Wiggins has pulled out of Channel 4's winter sports show The Jump after breaking his leg. The 8-time Olympic medalist suffered a small fracture while training. He said he was gutted to be forced out of the competition. West Ham's manager Slaven Bilic has been charged by the FA after their game against West Brom on Saturday. Bilic was furious after West Brom scored a late goal to draw level. He threw a microphone on the ground before being sent off. He has until Thursday to respond to a charge of improper conduct. And some of Arsenal's players got a lesson in tricks from a 17-year-old female player. Hector Bellerin and Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain were among the stars, dazzled by the footwork of the French freestyle footballer Lisa Zemouche. You can see the full video on our Facebook page. Just search for ITV London. Oh, she definitely has skills. OK, the ITV News continues at 6:30. Here's a look at what's happening with Mary Nightingale.
Grot spot Britain, the dramatic rise in fly tipping across the UK. We reveal there's been a 30% increase in illegal dumping of waste. Campaigners call it an epidemic. At least 4 have been killed in an avalanche in the French Alps. Several more are missing. And
I know it's live TV, I'm sorry, I need to start again.
well, it wasn't pitch perfect for Adele as she swept the board at the Grammys. Well, do join me for those stories and more at 6:30.
Next tonight, with the capital's pollution problem getting worse, more and more Londoners are wearing Beijing-style masks to protect themselves. Well, one West London inventor has seen a gap in the market and created a design just for children. So soon, could we see streets of masked faces just like China? Well, here's Martin Stew.
A visible defence against an invisible killer. In Chinese cities, pollution face masks are as standard a piece of safety kit as wearing a bike helmet. With dirty air in London again today, we're increasingly following suit.
You literally just pop it on, take the 2 elastics, wrap them behind your ear.
This latest mask is designed especially for children.
And what's it filtering out?
Well, I mean, I can't say air pollution because there's a lot of chemicals and technical things involved in that, but just all as much harmful intake as what it can.
Made from cotton, its creator says it will filter out half of the toxic particles in the air and can be washed and reused.
Do you want to try it? All right.
Pollution affects children the most because the dirtiest air is at their head height and the toxic particles stunt lung development. But it seems street safety won't trump street cred.
If I said to you, you've got to wear one of those all day, what would you think about that?
No.
You wouldn't wear it all day?
No.
Do you want to try this on?
You think you might wear one of those, Hannah? Kids were born in Shanghai and we lived there for 7 years. They used to have proper PM2.5 air filtration in. I don't think these ones do anything at all. I think they're cloth masks.
The environmental group, which has successfully taken the government to court over our failure to deal with air pollution, says masks are a red herring.
We think the government should be doing something about it. We don't think children should be having to wear masks. In 2017, we should not be breathing in dirty air and having it affect us like this. If the water was as dirty as the air that we're breathing, we'd be doing something about it.
Until then, if you can face wearing one and afford the £7.50 price tag, a mask might protect you from at least part of the pollution.
But the question is, though, Martin, do they actually work?
Well, that is a very difficult question, and it's very hard to find sort of exact scientific data about it. Now, I think the upshot is really anything is better than nothing, but there are different grades of things. So the mask we're talking about today, as mentioned in the report, is just a thin bit of cotton. It's not a huge amount different to holding a T-shirt in front of your face, although it's a finer weave cotton. So it will screen out some of the bigger particles. Yeah. You can get things like this, which are sort of more specifically designed for cyclists, are a little bit more expensive, about £20, and they've got these kind of filters in which filter a bit more out. But obviously they're a little bit more, difficult and unpleasant to breathe in, and you feel claustrophobic and sweaty. So really anything you can do might make a small difference, but it isn't going to get rid of it altogether.
No. Let's talk weather very quickly.
Yes. Well, the weather very quickly is getting much better. Quite nice today and looking pretty good for the rest of half term. So, with the exception of moderate air pollution levels we've seen today, the weather's actually been pretty good for the start of half term, and it's staying pretty good as well. Largely dry is the main theme, and turning a bit milder as the wind eases away. Temperatures on the up towards the end
of the week. Here's an overview, really. You can see largely dry for the southeast of the UK, a little bit of light rain possibly on Wednesday, and then a largely dry picture, the wind easing and temperatures just sneaking up as we head towards the end of the week. Out there tonight, well, as you can see, pretty much clear skies, a dry night for all of us. Quite cold to start with. The wind, though, starting to ease away after quite a blustery afternoon. Temperatures holding up just above freezing, so chilly, but with the breeze, for most of us, it should be staying frost-free, and then a relatively cool start to tomorrow morning. Still a little breezy, but not as gusty as it's been today. And as the day goes on, we just start to see a little bit of cloud creeping in from the southwest, so more overcast, but always with one or two bright breaks here and there. Take a look at the temperatures, a shade up on what we've seen today, and with lighter winds as well, we're going to see things feeling a bit warmer for all of us. We're still drawing in slightly polluted air, though, so again, tomorrow, moderate air pollution levels. Then as we look ahead towards the weekend, well, things not too bad, really. So Wednesday, one or two light bits of showery rain around. Most of it is fizzling out as it heads towards the London area. And then as we go through Thursday and Friday, things staying largely dry. A little bit of an overcast picture, much like tomorrow, really. There'll be some cloud around, but always one or two bright breaks. So all in all, for half term, things looking rather pleasant. Goodbye.
Now, while La La Land danced off with the big awards at the BAFTAs, in one corner of Soho, they were still celebrating this morning. The moving picture company in Wardour Street won for Best Visual Effects for their work on The Jungle Book. But they weren't the only ones recognised on home turf either. Dev Patel and Tom Holland were among the London winners. Rags Martel has the details and the reaction.
The BAFTA goes to
The Jungle Book.
On the screen, you see animals and a jungle, but none of it is real.
Only the actor Neil Sethi, who played Mowgli, was the only filmed element, and the entire environment was completely computer generated.
Does my face not remind you of what a grown man can do?
I don't know of another film where there's such a huge environment been built with characters which are lead actors in the film acting alongside only one principal actor. It's quite a unique film.
And the people behind these special effects are based in Soho. The moving picture company worked on The Jungle Book for 2 years. An army of 800 people making sure each frame looked real.
Relax, kid. No need to get worked up, okay?
And each scene took its time.
I mean, that one shot would have probably taken a month. So we substitute this fake puppet with a computer-generated animal, and that takes weeks and weeks of work.
And that work rewarded last night with a BAFTA for Best Visual Effects.
We wanted to just say thanks to BAFTA for recognizing the over 800 artists at MPC Film in London who worked on the film. Every blade of grass and tuft of hair and performance you see was made by artisans, so this is for you guys.
The Jungle Book was just one of 15 Hollywood movies made here last year. Behind this door, they're already working on this year's releases, but it's so top secret, we're not allowed inside.
I don't have a choice.
Other London BAFTA winners included Dev Patel for Best Supporting Actor in the film Lion.
It's just so overwhelming, you know. I sat at home and watched this with my family who are here with me tonight, and it's just such an overwhelming feeling. Mum, Dad, Gomel, I love you guys so much. This is a film about family, about a love that transcends borders, race, you know, colour, anything. And you guys are my driving force.
Hey, I'm Peter.
Tom Holland, who grew up in Kingston before becoming Spider-Man, was named Best Rising Star.
You have a metal arm? That is awesome, dude. Wow, it's amazing to be up here. 2 thank yous right off the bat. BAFTA, thank you for nominating me, and obviously thank you to the British public for voting and showing your support. It's tough voting online. Believe me, I know.
And with the BAFTA win out of the way, all eyes at the moving picture company are on their next nomination, the Oscars. Rags Martel, ITV News, Soho.
Well, across the pond, it was awards of a very different kind being handed out. Adele swept the board at the Grammys, the most prestigious music awards in the world. She also performed a tribute to George Michael, but it didn't quite go to plan.
That's love, that's love in you. I know it's live TV, I'm sorry, I need to start again. I f***ed up, I can't do it again like last year. I'm sorry for swearing and I'm sorry for starting again. Can we please start it again? I'm sorry, I can't mess this up for him. I'm sorry.
Well, she did get through it, and she picked up 5 awards, making headlines for her acceptance speech about Beyoncé.
I can't possibly accept this award, and I'm very humbled and I'm very grateful and gracious, but my artist of my life is Beyoncé, and this album for me, the Lemonade album, was just so monumental. Beyoncé, it was so monumental.
Very emotional, Adele. Well, away from last night's glitz and glamour, the Grammys have recognised one of the most important figures in how we listen to music today. Alan Blumlein was an electronics engineer from Ealing who effectively invented stereo sound. He made this film in the 1930s to illustrate his invention. Now, you have to listen very carefully, and you should be able to hear the sound move from right to left across your speakers. Incredible, isn't it? Well, his work was the basis of all the stereo systems that we have today. Who'd have thought that? Well, the Grammys have posthumously given him a special merit award, and I'm so delighted to say that his son Simon is here to talk about it. Thanks so much for coming in to talk to us. You must be so proud to see your dad being recognised in this way.
Oh, at last. It's been many, many years. He never had an obituary. It was all kept quiet to hide it from Hitler. They didn't want to give Hitler any pleasure whatsoever.
Yeah, because I read that he died during World War II, but it wasn't announced until 3 years later because of the secret nature of the work he was doing. It was a radar system he was working on.
Yes, he was working on H-2S radar, the bombing without seeing, and the plane caught fire. And the pilot tried to land it in near Simmons Yacht. And I've seen the bump. It really was an enormous accident.
No,
and it killed everybody on board.
Including your father. I mean,
Yep.
he was so young when it happened, but he had achieved so much by that point. I think it was 127 other patents that he developed, and that was for technology and telecommunications and TV, for example, and radars. Were you aware of just how impactful he was?
Not when he died. I was age 6. Yeah. So I knew nothing about what he was doing, really. Only the things he explained to me, like trains and things like that.
And at what point did it hit you that actually my dad is responsible for something huge in terms of the whole way that we listen to music?
Right. It built up through my whole life. It was intended that I should go to Imperial College. There was a place waiting for me. And I just didn't work hard enough for it because it all seemed so easy. Yeah. Thank goodness I didn't go because it was all on his name. I'd have loved it. And I've had to learn about electronics since then.
And you also had a classical music shop, so the music element of things has carried through.
Yes, the music element, and it was called Blumlein's. And I had a sign underneath, Blumlein, the first name in stereo.
Oh, that's beautiful. Now, before you go, because we haven't got much time left, but there's something extra special in the pipeline where your dad's legacy is concerned.
Well, in the pipeline is the making of a film on my father, which will be just the icing on the cake, because he really should be known better. And I'm so pleased that things like this are bringing his name forward.
Absolutely. The world now knows his name, Simon, and that's amazing. Thanks so much for coming in.
Not at all.
Well, we're back with the latest after ITV News at 10. Coming up, Mary Nightingale with the ITV Evening News. But for me and the rest of the London team, goodbye.